looking a lot different than most of them. And I'm telling you, it's really sad, and I was looking forward to the food too. But, you know, the main thing is we're here to praise the Lord.
Amen.
I've told Brother Trace, Sister Whitney, and I want them to obey the Lord. And if the Lord allows me to preach, that's fine. And if not, that's fine too. But if we all obey the Lord, who knows what God is able to do in the lives of every heart that's in this place. And I'm telling you, that's why we're here, is to obey the Lord and to honor Him, to glorify Him. And I'm telling you, the thought has been on my heart, and Lord willing, if I preach it this morning, it'll be, don't miss it. Don't miss it. How many times have we missed out on God's blessings?
Amen.
Because our mind has been somewhere else. Because we've been involved in something else. We come to church and our mind's at the workplace, our mind's at the family, our minds are everywhere except for where Jesus is. I once had a brother come up to me and his daughter got saved. And he told me, he said, Brother Neil, he said, you know what? He said, I missed it. He said, I said, what do you mean you missed it? He said, I had so many things on my mind. I missed the joy of my daughter being saved. And I'm telling you, let's not miss what God has for us today. I believe God has put this service together exactly like He wants it. It may not be like I want it. It may not be like you want it. There's no chicken on the table. So, so we're not on a deadline that we got to be out of here by noon. We started an hour later, so if we go an hour, hey, we were planning on being here till 4 o'clock today. So we got plenty of time. But we'll start like we normally do. I'm going to ask everybody to stand, Brother Dustin, to lead us in a congregational song.
I'll fly away. Some glad morning when this life is over, I'll fly away to a home on God's celestial shore. I'll fly away. I'll fly away, oh glory. I'll fly away in the morning when I die. Hallelujah, by and by.
Excited about it, and I want to say this. You see the different pews that have taken off. We're trying to follow the regulations, the rules, but I said this last Sunday, and I want to start off saying that this Sunday. We will not close the altar of God. Amen. If you have a need to pray, you come and pray. And I'm telling you, we'll pray with you. We'll intercede with you. Because I'm telling you, we have access to the Father in heaven. Amen. And I tell you, I wouldn't want to put anything in the way of that. Amen. Jesus Christ opened when he died on the cross, the veil in the temple was split, and now we have direct access into heaven. Amen. And we need to take advantage of that. So if you have a need any time in this service, you come and you pray. And I'm telling you, that's the most important thing that can happen today. And we're going to ask Dustin to...
You can all stand if you like. We'll sing Victory in Jesus. I heard an old story, how a Savior came from glory, how he gave his life on Calvary to save a wretch like me. I heard about his groaning, of his precious blood atoning. Then I repented of my sins and won the victory. Oh, victory in Jesus, my Savior forever. He sought me and he bought me with his redeeming blood. He loved me ere I knew him, and all my love is to him. He plunged me to victory beneath the cleansing flood. I heard about his healing, of his cleansing power revealing, how he made the lame to walk again, and caused the blind to see. And then I cried, dear Jesus, on the hill I rode in spirit, and somehow Jesus came and brought to me the victory. Oh, victory in Jesus, my Savior forever. He sought me and he bought me with his redeeming blood. He loved me ere I knew him, and all my love is to him. He plunged me to victory beneath the cleansing flood. I heard about a nation is built for me in glory, and I heard about the streets of gold beyond the crystal sea, about the angels singing and the open entrance glory, and some sweet day I'll sing up there the songs of victory. Oh, victory in Jesus, my Savior forever. He sought me and he bought me with his redeeming blood. He loved me ere I knew him, and all my love is to him. He plunged me to victory beneath the cleansing flood. Oh, victory in Jesus, my Savior forever. He sought me and he bought me with his redeeming blood. He
I appreciate Pastor Neil. We had been texting a little bit back and forth, and I think it's been just a few weeks ago. He said, brother, he said, the homecoming isn't going to look like it normally does. He said, we're not going to have an afternoon service, and he said, we're not going to have a big meal. And he said, you still want to come? And I said, well, I'll have to talk to Whitney. And I was talking to Whitney, and I said, well, they're not going to have an afternoon service. And I had her there, and I said, they're not going to have a meal. And she said, well, I don't think we'll go. The girl loves her chicken, you know, that's all I'm saying. I'm kidding, I just made that up. But we've been looking forward to coming. I can honestly say this morning, food or not, and I think it tells a lot when there's COVID-19 going on and there's no meal. I think it can tell an awful lot about who shows up to have church. And I just appreciate y'all. We feel like we're practicing and singing this morning. It's probably, we've sang maybe one time since March, maybe twice. But it feels good to be in the house of God this morning and just to worship Him. And I can say already, seeing this brother come forward, and I hope you got help from God this morning, that makes it all worth it right there. Amen. And we're just excited to be here. We're looking forward to these next 3 hours that we're going to have together. And I'm just kidding. But I'm going to do something a little bit different. We haven't done this song in a while. We usually sing this at the end of the service. I told Whitney the sun's shining and I'm feeling good this morning. I said, we're just going to go all out on the first song. That'd be all right. Y'all got to pretend like you like it if you don't. But this is an old song. Well, I've been a soldier in God's mighty army since many long years ago. And I've been scarred and wounded in battle, and many times I've been brought low. But by the signs of the times, I then realize I'm only one more mile to go. Well, I can see the lights of heaven up above, and I feel like running my last mile home. Come on, man. Oh, yes, I feel like running my last mile home, and I see a great band of angels around God's throne. Oh, what a great celebration as ages roll on. I feel like running my last mile home. Here's the good part.
Now Jesus said, when you reach down to save me, I'll go with you all the way. So I stepped out on His precious promise, and it filled me both night and day. I know it's been many years, but I still can feel His Spirit moving.
Aren't you thankful for that?
In my soul, right? Oh, it gives me just a taste of one last hand. I feel like running my last mile home. Oh, yes, I
Feel like running my last mile home, and I see a great band of angels around God's throne. Oh, what a great celebration as ages roll on. I feel like running my last mile home. How many still believe in the rapture of the church? That one day the trumpet of God's going to sound? The Bible says the dead in Christ are going to rise first. That we which are alive and remain are going to be caught up to meet Him in the air forever. Amen?
Oh, yes, I
Feel like running my last mile home, and I see a great band of angels around God's throne. Oh, what a great celebration as ages roll on. I feel like running my last mile home. Oh, yes, I feel like running my last mile home, and I see a great band of angels around God's throne. Oh, what a great celebration as ages roll on. I feel like running my last mile home. I feel like running my last mile home. I feel like running my last mile home. Amen. How about you, church? What a finished work for Jesus. Amen. Man, some of you got a little bit excited. Praise God. I might wait to do another, actually this is a new song for us. I'm thankful that the Lord will meet you right where you're at. You might have walked in this morning, your life is a mess. Jesus can make the difference, amen. He'll meet you right where you find yourself this morning. Come on.
he was soon to find, just walking down Damascus Road. Brought to his knees, a sinner set free, the evidence for all to see. He'll meet you where you're at, he'll stop you in your tracks, he'll show up on the scene when you least expect it. Come to where you are and mend your broken heart. He's never far away, and that's a fact. He'll meet you where you're at.
Aren't you thankful for that?
Headed down the path of darkness and wandering in the lonely shadows of the night. Captive and blinded by good intentions, till I finally saw the light. Brought to my knees, a sinner set free, the evidence for all to see. He'll meet you where you're at, he'll stop you in your tracks, and he'll show up on the scene when you least expect it. Come to where you are and mend your broken heart. He's never far away, yeah, that's a fact. He'll meet you where you're at. For anybody, anywhere, at any time or place, the truth still remains. He'll meet you where you're at, and he'll stop you in your tracks. He'll show up on the scene when you least expect it. He'll meet you where you're at, he'll stop you in your tracks. He'll show up on the scene when you least expect it. Come to where you are and mend your broken heart. He's never far away, yeah, that's a fact. He'll meet you where you're at.
Aren't you thankful for that?
He'll meet you where you're at. He'll meet you where you're at.
Amen. I'm thankful for that. You're certainly not looking at two perfect people this morning. You probably already figured that out. And I'm thankful that when I was a sinner, that he came to me, and that's what he did for you too. Amen. If you're saved through the blood of Jesus Christ. We all have a different story this morning. If we went around the auditorium, we could all say, man, I was a drunk, or I had this problem or that problem. But aren't you thankful that it's a level ground at Calvary? And I'm thankful this morning that I'm saved through the precious blood of Jesus Christ. I want Whitney to do another song. This is a song that we've been doing now for a little while. And the words of it, I love the message of it. The first time I heard it, Pastor Neil, I was like, man, that's a little different. But I'm thankful this morning that I am kept by the hand of Jesus Christ. Amen. That there's nothing within me that's able to do that. And I'm so thankful, Dustin, this morning that we have a shepherd. And he knows who his sheep are this morning. And you might be struggling even as a child of God this morning. And you might think, man, I'm just a failure. I just keep messing up. I'm never going to get victory over this sin. Can I tell you this morning, just keep fighting? Yeah. I'm thankful this morning that we have the good shepherd. And I'm thankful that he knows who we are this morning. He knows your name. And the safest place you can be during a time in your life like this is in the hand of Jesus Christ. Amen. Sing that with me. You are my safe place.
I can say anything to you. I always have your attention. I know you're always listening to me. With you, I don't have to act tough, and I can be afraid of the hard stuff. 'Cause on your shoulders, I can always lean. And when the sun isn't bright, you go and turn on the light and give me hope in the darkest night. The darkest night. You are my safe place, and you are my shelter, and you are my refuge. When the world is falling under, times get crazy, You are my safe place.
What people do without the Lord. Amen. We're just going to sing a few songs in my hymn this morning. That's what we came to do. I never want to get over the fact that I'm saved. I never want to get over the fact that He deserves all my praise, all the glory this morning. Amen.
I love Jesus. Hallelujah. I love Jesus. Yes, I do. And I love Jesus. And He's my Savior. And Jesus smiles and He loves me too. I'm a soldier.
Aren't you glad this is powerful? Just passing through. Amen.
I'm a soldier and I'm going home. It was a Savior,
Loving kind.
love and kindness. He came to me and He won my heart. And I love Jesus and hallelujah. I love Jesus, yes I do. And I love Jesus, and He's my Savior. And Jesus smiles and He loves me too.
Come on, man. Sing
And
it.
people say that I'm too noisy.
The church isn't the problem.
But I'll
Amen. The church is not the
tell
problem.
the reason why. 'Cause if they only they felt His glory, then they would shout as well as I. And I love Jesus, and hallelujah. And I love Jesus, yes I do. And I love Jesus, and He's my Savior. And Jesus smiles and He loves me too.
That second verse is my favorite verse. Listen to this. You might have missed the first time. Sing that with. People say, come on.
And people say that
I know how it is.
noisy, but I'll tell them the reason why. 'Cause if they only they felt His glory, then they would shout as well as I. And I love
Do you love Him this morning? Just worship Him.
Hallelujah. I love Jesus. Yes, I do. And I love Jesus. And He's my Savior. And Jesus smiles and He loves me too.
If you know that, sing it with us this morning.
I love Jesus.
Come on, that's easy. We can all sing that. Amen.
Hallelujah. I love Jesus. Yes, I do. And I love Jesus. And He's my Savior. And Jesus smiles and He loves me too.
We can do some praise. He's worthy. Amen.
We can all sing I love Jesus.
Amen.
We've got a special surprise coming here in just a minute, so hold on.
And the people that's involved don't even know it.
Yeah, they don't even know. It's going to get real good here in a minute. And I said, if we can't have fried chicken, we got to pull something off to get people excited. We're going to do that in a minute, but I want Whitney to do this song. I am thankful for songs that have a Bible message. And sometimes I think we read the Bible and I think we look at it and we say those are just stories. And that's good for so-and-so, and man, that's a good thought. And I think so many times we fail to realize that even as a child of God, those things really happen. And that's really the God that we serve. And when we can get our mind around it, that Paul was in a prison cell, and things didn't look good at all for Paul. And that ground and that earth began to shake, and then he walked right out. Or the 3 Hebrew children that were thrown in a fire. And man, I don't know about you all, but the world would say that's just a made-up story. But I know who the God of that story is. And He is able to do anything. You might be sitting there this morning and say, this thing is so big, how am I ever going to make it out of this situation? Or how am I ever going to deal with that situation? That's the God that we serve this morning. He's able to deliver us from any situation that we face in life. And that's what this song, if I can find it, that's what this song talks about. He's a delivering God. How many of you He's delivered you in your life from something? Amen? We serve a healer. We serve a sin-conquering God this morning. Sing it.
Only human.
Sing it with it.
Perfect by no means. Sometimes I give in when temptation's pressing me. In my weakest hours, I sometimes lead you down. In the midst of all these trials, will I ever make it out? And then I'm reminded of a prison cell that Paul was locked inside. How the earth began to shake, and the gates won't open wide. And I know God will never hold the love that sets me free, 'cause He will deliver me.
Thank you, Lord.
And He will deliver me.
I love you, Lord. This might be you this morning. Listen. Come on with it.
Sometimes I feel so all alone, not a friend around, crying out for someone to come along and just help me out. Then all at once I realize when I'm weak that He makes me strong, and that my Savior's been walking right with me all along. And then I'm reminded of the 4th man in the fire walking around, and the 3 little Hebrew children that He brought safely out. Sometimes I have to walk through the fire just to see that He will deliver me. That He will deliver me. And then I'm reminded of the 4th man in the fire walking around, and the 3 little Hebrew children that He brought safely out. And sometimes I have to walk through the fire just to see that He will deliver me. And He will deliver.
He deserves all the praise this morning. Amen. We can all say He's delivered us from some stuff. We're going to do one last song before Pastor Neil comes, and they don't even know they're going to do it this morning. I hope they'll do it paid in full. Can we do that? And I'm telling you what, I do got to say this morning that I'm thankful for the Spirit of God, because I was worried getting up to sing without the choir kicking things off this morning. And they're always so easy to sing behind. And so I was grateful for the congregation singing and get these guys up here. I'm so thankful for Christian Friends. And I don't know if we're allowed to elbow bump or what, but aren't you thankful for Christian Friends? And I'm so grateful for that. And we found those here at this church, and we're going to try to sing this little song.
Ray, you know where it's at?
This is an old one. This is older than Pastor Neil. I was waiting to say that until the last song, so I made sure we was done. We may never get to come back again.
It's meant to be, I'm telling you.
They're trying to get out of it now. We've got it here. I know. It's on page 1. Right there. See, y'all thought the Lord just came through just in time. Here we go. Paid in full by the blood of the Lamb. It's a good old song.
She's saying far away from
Take a verse.
When justice called for a payment for sin, no one worthy to be crowned among men, but the precious Son of God, with a cross and thorny crown, paid the debt by the blood of the Lamb. Paid in full by the blood of the Lamb. Free from sin, free to live, now I am. And it reads on the page where my sins were written down, paid in full by the blood of the Lamb. The grave was the debt that I owed.
Think about that. Then Jesus came through.
Pay for the seeds I have sown. But in Jesus, my Lord, one great treasure I have found. I'm redeemed by the blood of the Lamb. Paid in full by the blood of the Lamb. Free from sin, free to live, now I am. And it reads on the page where my sins were written down, paid in full by the blood of the Lamb. And it reads on the page where my sins were written down, paid in full by the blood of the Lamb. Paid in full by the blood of the
Amen. Give the Lord some praise. Amen. Thank you, guys. I'm telling you what.
I'm telling you, I think I should have started this service at 10 o'clock. I wasn't ready for them to quit. Brother Trey, Sister Whitney's been a blessing to their families. And I'm telling you, they got an open invitation here. Boy, it's so good to be back in church. Amen. Mark chapter 6. God has been so good to us. We're living in troubled times, but I tell you what, God's still in control. He knows exactly what He's going to do. We just need to trust Him. Out of Mark chapter 6, I'm going to begin reading at verse 47, and then we'll kind of go back and Now, I'm going to ask you to do this. Put your watches away. Put your cell phones away. Quit playing Candy Crush in church. Because I believe we get so distracted that we miss the blessing that God has for us.
Amen.
And you're saying you're going to say something like that after they sung like that? Hey, we need to trim the trees a little bit once in a while. And I'm telling you, we can come to church and be so distracted. I'm going to begin reading at verse 47. And when even was come, the ship was in the midst of the sea, and he alone on the land. And he saw them toiling in the rowing, for the wind was contrary unto them. And about the fourth watch of the night he cometh unto them, walking upon the sea, and would have passed them by. But when they saw him walking upon the sea, they supposed it had been a spirit, and cried out. For they all saw him, and were troubled. And immediately he talked to them, and said unto them, Be of good cheer, it is I, be not afraid. And he went up into the ship, and the wind ceased, and they were amazed in themselves beyond measure, and wondered, for they considered not the miracle of the loaves, for their heart was hardened. Now, I want to go back and get a little bit of background on what just previously happened in this chapter. John the Baptist was beheaded, and Jesus told his disciples, he said, let's go off into a wilderness place, a place that we can get some rest, a place that we can relax a little bit. And the multitudes followed them there, and Jesus had compassion on them. Even though that he was physically wore out, even though that he was physically tired, he healed and he taught the multitude. And come evening, the disciples came to Jesus, and he said, you need to send these people away into the cities and let them buy food. And Jesus said, no, you give them to eat. And he said, well, all we have is a few pennies worth. That's not enough to buy the food that they needed. And Jesus said, what do you have? He said, well, and I'm kind of combining the different books here. And he said, listen, there's a little lad here that's got 5 loaves and 2 fishes. And Jesus said to set them down in multitudes. And if you go over and you read in the book of John, he said, and this he said to prove them, for he already knew what he was going to do. Jesus was going to prove the disciples and find out where their faith was, where their trust was, and if really he was going to prove them through the miracle that he was about to do, he was going to show them that he is the Son of God. There was still a lot of doubt about who Jesus was, even in the eyes of the disciples, and Jesus was going to do a miracle that they could not explain. Jesus was going to do a miracle to show them his power and who he was. And he had them sit down in the companies of 50s and 100, and he took the bread and he blessed it and he brake it, and he said, give unto the multitude. They gave unto the 5,000 men besides women and children. They fed them all, and afterwards they gathered up 12 baskets. But did you get that verse, the last verse that I read? I said, listen, and when they passed, let me get that, for they considered not the miracle of the loaves, for their heart was hardened. And now listen, Jesus constrained his disciples, and he told them, he said, listen, I want you to get in a ship, and I want you to cross over to the other side while I send the people, the multitude away. And after Jesus had sent the multitude away, he went up into the mountain and he began to pray. And I really wonder what that prayer was all about. And listen, I want you to know, I realize this is speculation, but do you suppose that he was praying because he did a miracle in the eyes of his disciples, and their heart was hardened, and they didn't even consider the miracle that had taken place. Perhaps they got so busy in the serving. Church, you know something? We can get so busy in serving Jesus Christ that we miss the blessings, we miss the miracles, we miss all that God has for us. We can get our hearts hardened. Maybe his disciples were saying, phew, do you believe he made us work that hard in feeding 5,000? And besides that, he made us go back and collect what was left over. Can I tell you something about human nature if you haven't figured it out? We're chronic complainers. Even when God does a miracle in front of us, we have a tendency of missing that. So when Jesus told his disciples and constrained them, that means he forcibly made them get in a ship and to cross to the other side. Do you suppose Jesus knew that the winds were going to be contrary? Do you suppose that Jesus knew that the waves were going to begin to roll because of the high wind? I believe he knew every bit of that. So why do you suppose that Jesus would send his disciples into the trouble? Why do you suppose he would send them into the battle? Why do you suppose that he would allow them to go through that? The answer is right there. Their hearts were already hardened, and they already missed the blessings that God had for them. Bless God, I want you to know something. I believe God allows us to go through some of the trials so we will begin to realize that our hearts have been hardened. I'm telling you, we've been out of church for a while, and I'm going to tell you exactly what the devil told me. Neil, if you cancel church, there are some of them that's not going to come back. They're going to begin to like having their Sundays off. They're not even going to return. Well, the reality is, if they're that way, their heart wasn't here in the first place. Bless God, I'm telling you, it has made me appreciate being in the house of God so much more. Bless God, I get to go under the house of the Lord. I get to hear the songs of glory. I get to raise my hand and praise God. I get to be among the children of God, and we can rejoice together. Why? Because God has allowed us to go through this door. Amen. Now listen what he says in verse 47. And you know what? I really want to rush this. Warning, I'm not going to do that to God this morning. Amen. I'm not going to try to extend it either. And when evening was come, the ship was in the midst of the sea, and he alone on the land. And he saw them toiling and rowing, for the wind was contrary unto them about the fourth watch of the night. He cometh unto them walking upon the sea, and would have passed them by. Now, there's a few things that I want you to see about the miracle that Jesus Christ, the miracles, plural. Church, I want you to know something. We have gone through a period of hard times at Christian Unity Church. It just seems like it's been a struggle in many different areas. But Jesus Christ has not left us. He has not forsaken us. Bless God, I'm telling you, if you read in the other chapters, you find out that the disciples were between 25 and 30 furlongs away from where Jesus was at. Listen, that's if you measure out 34 furlongs, that's 3.75 miles or 3 3/4 miles. And I don't know if you've ever been out on the lake or the ocean and you see the ships go out in the sea. They disappear very quickly over the horizon. Bless God, I'm telling you, the disciples were in a place that they couldn't see Jesus, but Jesus is always in a place where he can see you. Bless God, I'm going to tell you, we need to realize there are times in our spiritual walk that we feel like that we're so far away from God. And there are times when I'm down on my knees, crying out to God, and it seems like my prayers aren't going anywhere. There are times I'm going through the battles of life, and I wonder, God, where are you at? But I want you to know something. I've never left the side of Jesus Christ. I've never gone so far that he's not watching over me. Bless God, he saw them 3 3/4 miles away. They were rowing, they were toiling, they were working hard to get to the other side. They were in the battle, the storm was raging. But I'm telling you, they were never out of the sight of Jesus Christ. You see, distance doesn't matter with God. How close are you to God today? Jesus said, draw nigh unto me and I'll draw nigh unto you. That's a promise from God's Word. Amen. But I'm telling you, the troubles of life, sometimes there's a great distance. And then he goes on to say this. He saw them toiling and rowing, for the wind was contrary, about the fourth watch of the night. So the fourth watch of the night is 3 a.m. in the morning. So distance doesn't matter. Neither does darkness. Now, you can stand and say here tonight, or this morning, that Jesus was standing on the mountain, and He was looking out, and He could see the disciples because it was a clear day. But I'm telling you, if the wind was blowing like that, chances are it wasn't a clear day. I have been out on the ocean, and I've been out on this Lake Erie at times when you couldn't see a boat that was 20 or 30 feet away from you. But then you take upon that, not only was there a great distance between them, the darkness had overshadowed them. Church, I want you to know something. We have the God of this world, Satan, that wants to overshadow us with the darkness. I'm telling you, how many of us have been glued to the TV, watching about the coronavirus, watching all the riots that are going on. Listen, I'm all for protesting, but when it starts becoming riots, there's something wrong with that. And we sit there and we watch this stuff, and I'm telling you, if we're not real careful, the darkness will begin to overshadow us. We go through the things of this world, the sins of this world, and all these things begin to weigh on us heavily. The Bible says it's the little foxes that destroy the vine. We just keep piling up, and you may feel like you're in a dark place, but I want you to know something. The light of Jesus Christ will always shine through the darkness of this world. The darkness, you may think you're hiding from God in the darkness. He sees exactly where you're at. And I'm telling you, that ought to be a great comfort to us. To know that the darkness, even though at times it seems like it overshadows us, that Jesus looks right through the darkness. Oh, He sees me right where I am. Oh boy, I'll tell you, church, sometimes I've been in some dark places. Sometimes I've been in some places I just didn't know what to do. I didn't know where to turn. There have been times when those that I thought were my best friends has forsaken me, has left me, and really some of them been very cruel and mean. And I've been in some dark places. But I'm telling you, there's still a light that shines through the darkness. There's still a God that knows exactly where I'm at and what I'm going through. I thank God that He looks through the darkness. Amen. And not only that, He came walking on the sea. Yeah. You know, the depth of the sea doesn't bother Jesus. Now you got to understand why He's doing this. The disciples' hearts were hardened. They didn't even consider the miracle of the 5 loaves and 2 fish. I'm telling you, we're just disappointed today because there's no chicken on the table. Okay, I'm disappointed because there's no chicken on the table, all right? You know, distance, darkness, and depth. There's times I felt so far away. There's times I felt in the darkness. And there's times I was like Peter. I stepped out on the boat and I began to sink. But you know what? Peter cried out and said, Lord, save me. And Jesus reached down into the depths and He pulled Peter out. Bless God, I want you to know something. The same Jesus, when we realize that we're far away from God and we're sinking, I don't know about you. There have been times in my Christian life. Listen, I know a preacher's not supposed to say this because we're supposed to be strong. We're supposed to be mighty. We're supposed to be so close to God that we never have any problems. I want you to know something. That is not the point. And that does not happen that way. Bless God, I'm telling you, we're human. And we go through the battles. And there have been times in my spiritual life that I felt like that I've been sinking. But I want you to know something. The only place, the deepest that Satan has ever been able to get me is to get me on my knees. And when I get on my knees and I cry out, Lord, save me. Bless God, the great big hand of Jesus will reach down and will pull me out of the depths of despair. Bless God, I'm telling you, can you imagine what it was like that night when they were upon the sea at 3 o'clock in the morning? morning. The winds and the waves were crashing against the boat. They were rowing, doing everything they could do. And all of a sudden, in the midst of the darkness, here comes Jesus. They sang about Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego. I've always pictured it in my heart this way. They were cast into the fiery furnace, and all of a sudden Jesus came walking through the fire, reached out his hand, and said, "Listen, my name is Jesus, and I'm here to deliver you. My name is Jesus, and I'm here to set you free." Bless God, I'm telling you, even though the waves are rolling, there is nothing that can stop Jesus from getting to his children. Amen. There's no distance, there's no darkness, and there's no depth of despair that can stop Jesus from getting. Hey man, can you just picture this? Jesus was out on a casual walk. He walked like he was just going to pass right on by them. Now I've been trying to walk more to try to take care of some excess baggage. And I'm telling you, I have a hard time walking on the flat ground. But here comes Jesus in the midst of the storm, 3 3/4 miles away. That's a long walk, by the way. Walking upon the sea, in the midst of the darkness. Now, I don't know about you, it's easy to get disorientated when you're out on the lake. We always try to make a point when we're out there fishing to come in before it got too dark or to stay close to the shore because it was easy to lose your direction. It was easy to lose your path. But I'm telling you, Jesus didn't need GPS. He knew exactly where the disciples were at. And he just came walking upon the depth of the sea. And I'm telling you, he was going as he was going to walk by, and they began to be afraid, and they cried out with fear. Bless God, I want you to know something. When Jesus comes by, it'll get our attention. When Jesus comes by, some of us will cry out, but I'm telling you, he still hears the cries of his children. Bless God, when you cry out in the darkness, Jesus still hears. I want you to know something. They did not have to go through the storm. They did not have to go through that. But Jesus was going to get his glory. He was going to show them who he was. He wasn't just a prophet. He wasn't just a good man. He is the Son of God. He is God's chosen child. Bless God. And he came to deliver man from their sins. And when they cried out in their distress, Jesus heard him. Yeah. Said he walked over to the boat. Now Peter came out and walked with him for a little bit. People were so critical of Peter. Yeah. Would you have got out of the boat? I'd rather have Peter's faith than the rest of them. But he walked into the boat, and immediately. Now, let's get that. When they cried out, he said, "Be of good cheer. It is I. Be not afraid." In their distress, in the darkness, in the depths, and in the distance, all these things stood in the way, not to Jesus. And as soon as they cried out, he said, "Listen, be of good cheer, it is I." How many times a church have we come into church brokenhearted? Have we come into church discouraged? Have we come into church seeming like the darkness have overshadowed? And we begin to cry out to God. And God says, "Listen, be of good cheer. It is I. I'm here." Bless God, I'm telling you, he'll show up at the right time. They thought Lazarus had died, I've been dead too long. But Jesus said, "I am the resurrection. I am the life." And bless God, when he stood before the tomb and he cried out and said, "Lazarus, come forth," even death couldn't stop the power of Jesus Christ. good cheer. It is I. I'm telling you, church, I was up to church not too long ago. It was late. It was dark. I came into this sanctuary and I sat in the darkness and I cried out to God. I don't know why I didn't turn on the light. Maybe it's because I felt kind of dark. You know, you don't need people in the church to rejoice. You don't even need to be in church to rejoice. But I'm telling you, I believe I touched heaven.
Yeah.
When Jesus said, be of good cheer, it's I.
Yeah.
It's I. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. You know, this world wants us to be afraid of everything. Afraid of a virus that we can't see. Afraid of rioters that are tearing this world apart. Afraid of our government that seems like they don't have a clue at times. Afraid of all these things. But I still want to declare unto you that the same Jesus that came walking to the disciples in the middle of the night, the same Jesus that heard them cry out, the same Jesus said, be of good cheer. It is I. Be not afraid. He is still Jesus today. He still has power to walk upon the water. He still has power to get to us when we seem so far away. He is still Jesus, and this world needs to understand He's still Jesus.
Amen.
Why did He do all this? I'm going to close. And when He went up into the ship and the wind ceased, they were sore amazed. There's a verse I'm looking for that I wrote down. Matthew 14 says this. And when they were come into the ship, the wind ceased. Then they were in the ship. They that were in the ship came and worshipped Him, saying, of truth, Thou art the Son of God. You know, sometimes we got to go through the storm to realize that God's with us. You know, there have been miracles all around us at Christian Unity Church. And I'm telling you, I'm looking for more of them. Because the power of Jesus has not gotten weaker. The power of Jesus is still able to save. The power of Jesus is still able to heal. The power of Jesus is still able to encourage. And I'm telling you, He's still able to do miracle after miracle. I was talking to Jim Clark, not being saved, and we were talking. I said, Jim, you better be thanking God, because what are the chances that your wife is an exact match for your kidney transplant? You realize that only God can do something like that? Bless God, there are miracles all around us, and a lot of times we don't see them because our heart is hardened. But I'm telling you, when they realized that Jesus was watching them all along, when they realized that Jesus was able to get to them, Jesus didn't go down, get on a ski-doo and ride across the lake under where the disciples were. Bless God, the water. He is the God of nature. He is the God of all things, and He can do all things. Bless God. And when they realized all the miracles that Jesus had done, when they realized that even in the midst of the storm, that Jesus was not going to leave them, Jesus wasn't going to forsake them, and Jesus could get to them. Bless God, they fell down and they worshiped Him. They ought to have been worshiping Him when He fed the 5,000 with the loaves and the fish. They ought to have been glorifying Him when they gathered up the 12 baskets that was left over. I want you to know something. We ought to glorify Him right now because He's going to do great things, and He is doing great things.
Amen.
He's done it all for us.
Yeah, praise the Lord.
I don't know what dark place you may be in. I don't know what distance you are from the Jesus.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, there's nothing that can stand between you and God.
Yeah.
But you know, how many times should we have cried out, but we let Jesus walk on by? You know, had they not cried out, they would have toiled all night and probably still not made it to shore. You read the other accounts, as soon as they stepped in, they was only halfway across, by the way. As soon as Jesus stepped in the boat, not only did the wind cease, they were at the other side. I'll say this in closing. One day I'm going to the other side,
Amen.
but I'm not going alone.
Amen.
Bless God, one day it's going to be, no doubt it's going to be a time where I'm thinking my ship is about to sink, when death begins to overshadow me. But I'm telling you, when the boat begins to sink, bless God, Jesus is going to step on board and going to take me across to the other side. I'm telling you, one day all these things in this world are going to end. One day I'm going to cross the other side. They say we're crossing over Jordan. Bless God, I don't know where I'm crossing over, but I know I'm going to heaven. Because Jesus promised me that He'll never leave me. He'll never forsake me. I'll go with you always, even unto the end of the world. I'm telling you, we serve a God that's going to take us to the other side.
Amen.
We serve an awesome God. Trey Whitney, if you'd sing a song of invitation. I tried not to rush it. I did a little bit, but it's all right. Church, don't miss what God has for you.
Amen.
Can you imagine sitting on the hillside and helping serve 5,000 men plus women and children with 5 loaves, 2 fish, and even miss the miracle that God had performed, that Jesus Christ had done?
Amen.
He looked up into heaven, He blessed the food, He broke it, He said, give them to eat. But they considered not the miracle of the loaves, for their heart was hardened. I wonder how many blessings we miss because our hearts are hardened.
Amen.
I wonder how many opportunities to worship and to praise God. You read the book of Psalms and it continually tells us that we ought to worship Him. We ought to glorify Him. We ought to praise Him. How many opportunities we miss because our hearts are hardened. How many miracles has Christ done for us? And we've not even stopped to thank Him. I was talking to a man the other night, and somehow we got on and I told him about the car accident I had when I was 17 years old. Head-on collision. Both of us going over 50 miles an hour. And you know, I missed an opportunity to be a witness, but I'll get my opportunity back. He said, oh, you're lucky to be alive. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. When I was laying half in and half out of the car, leg busted up, tore all to pieces, I asked the Lord, it just hadn't been saved very long. I said, Lord, am I going to die? And then I heard that still small voice, Neil, I'm here. You're going to be okay. Oh, I tell you, comfort came over me. I'll never forget that miracle that God did for me on West River Road in Columbia Station. I'll never forget, but the greatest miracle was January 25th, 1976. At an old-fashioned altar of prayer, I met Jesus Christ. I'm telling you, the greatest miracle. If you're here and you're saved, you've experienced an awesome miracle. You've experienced the greatest miracle. And I tell you, I believe you've experienced many, but how many have we missed? Because our hearts were hardened. Don't miss God's miracles. Let's all stand. I'm going to ask them to sing. Church, the altar is open. I don't know what your need may be. I don't know how far you feel away from God. I'm telling you, social distancing should not take us away from Christ. Yes, it is hard. Yes, it affects our lives. But I'm telling you, draw nigh unto me, and I'll draw nigh unto you. That's a promise from God's Word. I don't know what darkness may overshadow you. I don't know if you feel like you're sinking in the depths of the seas. But I'm going to tell you, God has promised nothing can stand between you and me if you'll just cry out to me. Cry out to Him today as they sing. If you have an to pray. Why not take advantage of that
We've
opportunity?
cried countless tears,
Maybe you're here today and you don't know Jesus as your Savior.
and you fall
I'm telling you, He'll run to you.
and your last
If you cry out to Him, don't let Him pass by.
You are not forsaken.
Church, I'm going to ask you the same thing.
On your stride.
Jesus is passing by today. Are you willing to cry out to Him? Are you willing to call out to Him?
He gives peace that covers all the pain.
What about you?
He brings a calm.
Brother Randy,
In the middle of the
let's pray.
hurricane,
Has your heart become hardened to the blessings of God?
and no one
Has your heart become hardened to the miracles of God? Why don't you come?
That covers all.
Why don't you come?